Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Middleware Technologies. Today we'll be looking at how we can build and package a Python Kivy based application using GitHub Actions Workflow. Okay, so here in this video we will try to see how we can build and package a Python Kivy based Android application and convert it into an APK format which is compatible with Android. And this thing we are going to do using the build tool, that is Buildozer. Okay, but instead of building that package, that APK package locally, we'll be trying to build it on a remote location, that is on GitHub, using the GitHub Actions Workflow. So let us see how we can carry out that in this video. So the test environment that I am going to use to build this APK package is going to be Ubuntu 20.04. So I'll get back to you why we have chosen Ubuntu over here. Okay, so let us try to understand what is GitHub Actions. Okay, so GitHub Actions is it basically makes it easy to build your CI/CD pipeline, also it can be called as GitHub Workflow, wherein it helps in building, deploying, packaging and testing your software packages or projects right from GitHub. Okay, so GitHub Workflow, which we can also call as a pipeline, can be triggered based on some events in GitHub, on a pull or push events, pull request events, or any kind of event, somebody is creating an issue, okay, or somebody is creating a tag or release. So these are some kind of events that trigger that can be used to trigger the GitHub Actions Workflow to run. Okay, so these workflows, they are nothing but a combination of GitHub Actions. Okay, so we'll try to elaborate more on what is GitHub Actions. Okay, so we can consider, so let's say in your CI/CD pipeline, basically you try to build, package and deploy and test. Okay, so building a package requires you to install some kind of tools like build tools, and it requires you to install your source code, and it requires you to run some kind of compilation and interpretation steps. So these are nothing but actions which basically steps or actions which are basically converted into some kind of reusable action steps, which are called as GitHub Actions. Okay, so we are going to basically use those reusable steps or actions in our GitHub workflow in order to run our steps. Okay, now let us try to understand what is GitHub Workflow. Okay, so GitHub Workflow is nothing but a CI/CD pipeline which consists of a set of steps which are executed, and these steps are belonging to a particular job. Okay, so GitHub Workflow can contain multiple jobs. Okay, and these jobs can contain a set of steps which basically are executed in a sequential manner. Okay, so the jobs can execute in parallel, but the steps within a job are executed in a sequential manner. Okay, so let us try to see it through a diagram. Okay, so I'll just take you directly to the GitHub GitHub page. So you can see, so this is the GitHub Actions page, wherein you can see it shows GitHub Actions makes it easy to automate all of your software workflows with world-class CI/CD build, test and deploy code right from GitHub. Okay, so it basically helps in automating your software development or software build life cycle using the GitHub Actions. Okay, So let us go down a bit. Okay, so you can build your application for any platform. Okay, so currently it supports Linux, Mac OS and Windows. So it provides these runners, or we can say the isolated environments, wherein like you can build your software packages on. Okay, so it basically tries to build that software package compatible to that platform. Okay, so these the workflow can be triggered using these actions. Okay, so you can see like whenever there is a issue gets created, it can be triggered. Whenever there is a comment is made, the workflow can be triggered. Whenever there is a pull request is there, like we can trigger the workflow. Whenever there is a push, we can trigger this workflow. So it is basically not about only the DevOps CI/CD pipeline, but any event that gets created in GitHub environment that can be converted and can be used to trigger the GitHub workflow. Okay, so let me go down a bit. So I'm currently using the GitHub free version. Okay, because I'm an individual contributor, so I'm using the free account, wherein we have 2000 minutes. Okay, 2000 minutes per month to utilize the GitHub workflows. Okay, so that is sufficient for you to build any project that you're working on a monthly basis. Okay, so let me now go into the documentation for GitHub Actions, and you can go into learn GitHub Actions, like understand GitHub Actions. So here, like I'll show you like the diagram on a visualization basis. Okay, so whenever there is an event gets triggered, so that event like triggers the workflow which executes on a runner. Okay, so every job which we define in a workflow gets executed on a runner. So this is one runner wherein the following job, that is job 1 is getting executed, and this is another runner wherein the job 2 is getting executed. Okay, so these jobs, they can run in parallel or on a sequential manner. Okay, so let's say if job 2 is dependent on job 1, like it can be possible for job 2 to be on hold until the job 1 is completed. But if there is no dependency between job 1 and job 2, those jobs can be executed parallelly. So simple example is like we can take the build and packaging phase. So we can build and package for multiple platforms. Okay, so we can build and package for Windows, for Linux and Mac OS. So those can be executed in parallel. Okay, but when it comes to deployment, okay, so it can be triggered, like the deployment job can be triggered only when the build for multiple platforms has been completed. So this is one kind of a dependency wherein the deploy job can only be triggered when the build and packaging jobs are completed. So this is how the GitHub workflow gets executed. Okay, so let me go into my documentation again. So we have looked in brief about what is GitHub Actions, and we have looked at what is GitHub Workflow. Okay, now let us go into our steps. So I'm currently going to show you a GitHub project of mine, wherein I have tried to convert it into GitHub Actions Workflow project, basically adding the workflow to my GitHub repository. Okay, so let me show you the repository. So this is my repository which we are going to use in order to convert our So basically, in order to build our application, like this is basically a Python Kivy based application. So this application we are going to build using the GitHub workflow and convert that Python application into an Android APK format. Okay. So this is my application that you can clone. Okay. So once you have cloned, or you can just fork this repository in so that it gets into your namespace. So once you have it in your namespace, just check the settings of this project and go into Actions Journal. Okay, so here, like, you need to ensure like your workflow permissions are set to read write permissions. Okay, so this basically what it means is, like, whatever workflow that you create in your repository, it has the complete permissions to like basically do any kind of read write activity. So it can execute, it can check out the repository, it can push any content into your repository. So those kind of permissions we are giving it to your workflow. And even the workflow might require some time to utilize your GitHub tokens. Okay, so that is also possible with this. Like, you can utilize the security tokens, the GitHub tokens in your workflow, but given that the workflow has the permissions to do that, so that can be set in this location, like in the workflow permissions. Like, you can just enable read write permissions for workflow. Okay, so that is the second step, wherein we have updated the permissions for workflow. Now coming to the third step, that is creating the GitHub workflow. Okay, so you can create it in two ways. Like, once you have cloned your repository, so let me go into my shell. So once you have cloned your repository, so you'll get the complete repo over here. So here, like, this is the project. Okay, but in order to create your workflow, you need to create a special hidden directory, that is GitHub Workflows. So this is the folder directory, the hidden directory that you need to create, and underneath it, like, you can create the workflow, that is build.yaml file, the file that is one I created for executing our workflow. Okay, so if you look at the details of this workflow, so this is a YAML definition file. So GitHub workflows are defined using the YAML definition, and you can see, like, this is the a very basic workflow, wherein on push to branches except for data and pages, so it is going to trigger this workflow. Okay, on push or on pull request, but except for data and GitHub pages. So these are two branches which are excluded. So whenever there is a push or pull is happening to these branches, it is not going to trigger this workflow. Except for this two branches, it is whichever branch you're going to push or pull, do a pull request, it is going to execute that workflow. And when it executes a workflow, it is going to execute a job on a particular runner. Okay, so we are using the following runner, that is Ubuntu 20.04. That is, like, we want the following CI/CD steps or the workflow job steps to be executed on the following runner. So what are the steps that we are executing? So these are the steps. Okay, so let me explain you briefly on each of the steps. The step 1 is basically checking out the repository. So it is like we are using an action. So action is nothing but a reusable step, reusable like set of steps, we can say, which basically helps in doing the activity on our behalf. So instead of like putting steps to do like git checkout and git push or git pull or downloading a package using wget. So these steps are converted into some kind of reusable actions that are available in GitHub marketplace, which we can utilize. So this is one of the action that we are going to use. Okay, so the action format is basically going to be in this format. So actions slash the name of the action at the version number or the SHA digest. Okay, so this is the format in which you can get the actions. Okay, and now the second step is building with Buildozer. Okay, so as I said, like we are building a Python Kivy based application. Okay, so in order to build the Python Kivy based application, the popular build tool that that is there available for us is Buildozer. Okay, so we are going to use the Buildozer action, that is Buildozer action, this one, in order to build our repository. So I'm going to use the master repository to get the source content which is available in the root directory. Okay, and we have set ID. So basically it is basically like a kind of identifier for this step, so that these steps like which we are executing, like they generate some kind of output. Okay, so in order to use that output, like we need to have some kind of reference to our step, so that we can use that reference and capture the output from that step. Okay, so that is why like we have provided an identifier for this step. Okay, now the third step is, once the build has completed, so it is going to generate an APK file in the local isolated environment, that is in this Ubuntu isolated environment. So we are going to use this action in order to basically upload that artifact into our repository. Okay, so we are going to give that name as a package, and we are going to upload the package that is available in step 2, that is steps.buildozer in the output folder with the particular file name. Okay, so this is the going to refer to our file name which got created in this step. Okay, now let us go into our next step, that is again checking out the repository. Here like we are going to use the branch data which we are going to check out. Okay, and we are going to basically set up Python and run a Python script. Okay, so this last step that you see is basically a run step. So it is executing a shell command which is basically a Python command running the Python script with these options. Okay, so this is our very basic build workflow. So basically you can get this workflow from, so let's say if you are searching for GitHub Actions Kivy or Buildozer, you can search. Okay, so this takes you to the marketplace, wherein you will see the Buildozer Actions workflow is already available. So here you can get the complete workflow from this location. So you can just copy that one, and even you can get the script which is used to move the binary or the APK package to the respective data branch. Okay, okay, so this is the reference for the Buildozer action that we are using in our project. Okay, so let me go into my documentation again. Okay, so as I explained, so these are the 6 steps that are being executed in a sequential manner in the GitHub workflow that gets triggered whenever there is a push or pull request event is occurring. Okay, so let me go into my next step. So as I said, like we are going to create a Python script. So one thing, so this Python script that we are going to use is created under the CI folder, that is C hidden folder. So this is the script. Okay, so you can get this script from the GitHub Actions, that is Buildozer Actions, and just copy it into that location. Okay, now let us go into our next step, that is push changes. Okay, so now that we have our GitHub workflow ready, our the Python script is ready, the only thing that we haven't done until now is creating a data branch. So you can just go into your repository. Okay, so let me go into my repository. So this is my repository. You can just go into your code section. Like here you can click on the branch that you are currently on, so it mostly is going to be the main branch. And right now, like you can see, like I have already created a data branch, but in case like you do not have the data branch, like you can just give that name over here and click on the create branch. Okay, so this is how you can create your branch. Okay, so now that we have our workflow, the Python script and the branch ready, like we can just push our changes into the repository. Okay, so this is basically like if you are trying to build your Python Kivy based application for the first time. Okay, so you're not going to have all these workflows and the scripts that I have mentioned in your repository. Okay, so these scripts and the workflow ones are ready in your repository. You can push your changes into your repository using the git command line utility. So we are running these steps in order to push our changes. Okay, now once the changes are pushed, okay, the GitHub workflow execution gets triggered. Okay, so let me show you. So once you go into your repository, go into actions, and you will see all the workflows that are that got executed. But let me show you the failed workflow. Okay, so if you are going to use this Buildozer action and take the default workflow from here and try to build it, okay, so it is going to fail at the build with Buildozer step. Okay, and if you look for errors over here, so it is basically you can see user bin C cache failed with exit error. So let us try to get into more details. So this is the actual error. So it is basically what it is trying to do is it is trying to convert or site. So it is trying to like convert the requirement to the following C format. That is, it is trying to compile this C file, but it is failing. So Pythonizing genus, it is failing. Okay, and the reason for failures is these errors. The error expression is not assignable. Okay, so if you look try to search for this error, like you may encounter this issue that is currently open with Python for Android. Okay, so this issue basically mentions like so there is currently issue with the Python for Android package, which is currently with the following release. Okay, so this release seems to be broken. So just in order for a temporary fix right now, like we can use the following release. Okay, so this release, like we can set in the Buildozer spec file. So let me show you the Buildozer spec file, and you can try to search for P4A. So here, like it was previously master for me, so it was taking the current release, but that build was failing the following error that I have shown. So in order to mitigate that, or for a temporary fix, like we need to update our P4A branch to the following release. Okay, so this is all that you need to do for your the Python Kivy based project that you are trying to build with the Buildozer tool. Okay, now let me go into my step. So as I said, so this is the error that you might encounter, and you can just fix it using the buildozer.spec file by updating the p4a.branch field. Okay, so now once the build completes successfully, so let's say like you have updated your p4a, and once that is completed, like you can go into your actions again. Okay, so now this is my successfully built workflow. So if you go into the job, so these are the steps that got executed on a successfully executed workflow. Okay, so basically it is the steps that you have mentioned is so the first step is basically it is going to set up the runner for us, and the second step is basically going to execute the Buildozer action. Okay, so as you can see, like this step is checking out our repository, and this is building the repository using the Buildozer tool. So it is going to install the Buildozer tool and try to build our application and convert it into an APK format. So if you go into the details of this step, in the last, like you can see, like it has created our package, that is APK package, which is available in the following output folder. Okay, build output APK debug. Okay, so Android package is done, and the next step is uploading the artifact. Okay, so we are going to upload the artifact into our GitHub repository. Okay, so this is the package that has been uploaded. The artifact has been uploaded successfully. Then we are doing a checkout again with the new branch that we created, that is data branch. And here we are going to set up the Python environment in our runner, and then we are going to push that binary, the APK file that got created, into the data branch. Okay, okay, so once all the steps are executed, so these are the post setup steps that are executed by GitHub automatically. Okay, as a part of this workflow. So this is how like your workflow will be. Like once you have executed, like you can get to see the details of each step, and you can search for your logs also, and you can also like basically download your logs, okay, for each of this step that is getting executed as a part of this workflow. And in case like you have let's say workflow that is failed, like you can just go to that workflow. So let's say if this is a workflow that is failed, like you can just rerun the failed job. Okay, so this is how you can execute your workflow, and you can build your packages using the Buildozer actions workflow that we have seen here. Okay, so once the package is built and it is uploaded into the data branch, like you can just go into your data branch over here. So let me switch over to the data branch, and here it is going to create a bin directory, and it is going to upload the package over here. Okay, so this is how you can utilize the GitHub Actions workflow and the GitHub Actions in order to build, package, deploy, and test your the software project that you are working on. Okay, so it is pretty much very useful because it is free for you, and you can use the runners which are available for different platforms. I can say, like we have for Linux, we have for Windows, and for Mac OS also. So this is pretty much the complete package that you can get in order to build your software packages and test your software packages on different environments, and that too with free of cost. Okay, so there is nothing that you need to install locally, and you need to set up locally. Everything can be done on the GitHub remote repository itself. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you with this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Thank you all. Thanks for watching this video, and you guys have a great day.